Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on nutrition label reading. My name is Dana, and I'm going to be presenting this information to you today. Thank you for joining. Before we get started, the presentation that you are about to view is the intellectual property of the Department of National Defense. Any reproduction or retransmission of the slides contained in this presentation is strictly forbidden. Some of the topics discussed in this webinar may be of a sensitive nature and not appropriate for children. We ask for parental discretion. Please understand that people's stories are theirs alone to tell, and anything shared by participants in this webinar, either on camera or in the chat, are not to be discussed outside of the webinar. And the webinar is being recorded and will be available for later viewing on our CAF Connection website. It's been a very long 14 months, and I just want to highlight some resources that are available to you so that you know that you are not alone. Please reach out if you are struggling and you just want to chat with someone. Someone is always there to listen. I'm now going to turn my camera off so that we can focus on the presentation, and I will come back on at the end. Throughout the presentation, you're going to see two different labels, the old and the new, or the original and the new. The process for revising our labels in Canada began in 2013-2014 with consults with parents, other consumers, and stakeholders. The new label regulations were released in 2017, and manufacturers were given until 2021 to comply. With COVID, there's actually been an extension, and companies have until 2022. You are going to find both labels in grocery stores, as some companies are good to go and others are still working through the change process. By the end of the presentation, you'll be able to spot the difference and be able to make an informed choice. So we're going to look at the different components of a nutrition label. We'll look at the nutrition facts table, the ingredient list, and the nutrition claims. So those are the three components that make up a label. And then we'll compare some labels and ensure that you have some nutrition resources at the end as well. Three things make up the label in Canada. We have the nutrition facts table, which provides us with information on calories and nutrients for the serving size shown. We have the ingredient list, which tells us what ingredients are in that packaged food. And we have nutrition claims. And there are two types of those: a nutrient claim, which tells you about one specific nutrient, or a health claim, which tells you about how this food could affect your overall health. We'll break down each of these different components then of the label. So first we'll look at the nutrition facts table. A lot of folks will use the nutrition facts table when they go grocery shopping. Maybe it's to see how many calories are in in the food that they're potentially looking at choosing, or maybe they're looking for some specific nutrient such as the amount of fat or sodium within that. Lots of different reasons, and the nutrition facts table can provide us a wealth of information. A nutrition facts table is listed on most packaged foods that are available for purchase, with the exception of individually packaged items. So if you were to buy a box of granola bars, each granola bar wouldn't necessarily have the label, but it would be on the box itself. Prepared foods at a grocery store, coffee, tea, vinegar, spices, things like that won't have a nutrition facts table. All the info on the nutrition facts table is based upon the certain amount of food or the serving size. So you can see with this label, everything that it follows underneath the calorie or underneath the serving size is based upon having 1 cup of this product. The percent daily value puts all nutrients on a scale from 0 to 100%. This scale tells you if there is a little or a lot of one nutrient in that serving of the packaged food. We can use this percentage to compare the nutrient content of different foods. You'll notice as we go through the presentation, I'll refer to 5% daily value is considered less or a little of a nutrient, whereas 15% daily value is considered more or a lot of a nutrient. Calories tell you how much energy you get from one serving of this food. So the label on the screen, having 1 cup of this or 250 mils, I would get 110 calories. There are some nutrients that we want to aim to get less of and some that we want to aim to get more of. Those that we want to get less of include our saturated and trans fats, sodium, and added sugars. We want to aim to get more fiber, potassium, iron, and calcium. Here's a side-by-side comparison of the original or the old label and the new label. So there's been some significant changes to make it easier to read and understand. Some of the major changes are that making the serving size more consistent and realistic with what folks would eat, as well as increasing the font size. Increasing the font size and underlining the calories. So you can see how much easier it is to read in the new label compared to the original label. The new label has a percent daily value for total sugars. Potassium has been added to the list of nutrients, as most Canadians are not getting enough of that, whereas vitamin A and vitamin C have been removed because most Canadians do consume enough of those. Calcium and iron are staying on the label as well. The new label also has a footnote at the bottom to inform consumers about the percent daily value and assist with understanding what is in that food. Explaining again that 5% is considered less or a little, and 15% is considered more or a lot. So potassium, for example, a nutrient we want more of, we would want to look for a higher percent daily value in that nutrient in the foods that we are choosing. The serving size. Serving size, the big change is that it's made more consistent so that we can compare similar foods, and more realistic as it's going to reflect the amount that Canadians typically eat in one sitting. The first thing you should do when you read the nutrition facts table is to look at the specific amount of food listed. So again, this example is 1 cup or 250 mils. Compare that to actually how much you consume. Do you consume that amount? Do you consume more or less? The amount you consume may be different than the specific amount listed in the nutrition facts table. If you eat the serving size shown, you're going to get the amount of nutrients listed in the facts table. Otherwise, you would have to adjust a little bit. The specific amount may be indicated by a phrase, such as a slice, an egg, 2 cookies, and followed by a metric measurement. We also might see familiar household units such as milliliters, cups, tablespoon, a fraction or unit of food, so maybe a quarter of the pizza, followed by a metric measure, so grams, milliliters. Examples, 175 grams of yogurt. So comparing some of the original labels that we had, plus some of the new labels, and how much easier they are to compare. So we can see that originally, when we were looking at trying to compare maybe yogurt A and yogurt B and deciding which one is a better choice for myself, depending on what my nutritional goals are, we can see the difference in serving sizes. So it was a little bit challenging to figure out, okay, are they comparable? This one says it's got this much protein, but it's a different size compared to this. So our new labels have come up. There's a standard measure for yogurt. So yogurt labels will reflect that 175 grams. So whether it's the tall container or a shorter container, the label amount, the serving size will be the same. So we then can compare the products quite easily in the store and decide which one is better for us. Another example where they've adjusted is to look at crackers. So again, crackers were very difficult to compare because they're all different sizes and weights. And we couldn't go by, saying a specific number of crackers because of that difference. I mean, think about a wheat thin versus a Triscuit. So what the nutrition facts label now will tell us is it's going to be based upon weight. And the essential size that they're going to use is around that 20 grams. So now if I pick up those two boxes of crackers, I'll be able to make a comparison because the weight is going to be the same. The amount of crackers I consume is going to be different, but we can use the facts table and make the comparison. And one final example that you'll see the new label compared to the old is around bread. If you've ever picked up a loaf of bread and tried to decide which one is better for you, giving you more of the key nutrients that you are potentially looking for, some of the labels said one slice, some of the labels maybe said 2 slices. The new label will actually have a set standard where they're looking at what folks would typically eat in a serving, which is usually that 2 slices. So it will be based upon that 2 slices. Again, we'll be able to make that comparison then to decide, is product A better for me or product B, again, depending on our personal choice and our goals. Another component of the nutrition facts table is looking at the percent daily value. As I've mentioned a couple of times already, our percent daily value will help us understand if there is a little or a lot of a nutrient within the product. And it applies to all nutrients. So again, an example, let's say you're concerned about your sodium content. You could use the percent daily value to compare it or to look at it to find out, okay, is there a lot of sodium in this product or is there a little? So we can see that these 2 cookies have a little sodium in it. So if that was what a concern that you were looking for, you would get some valuable information based upon that. So it puts nutrients on that scale from 0 to 100 and tells you if there's a little or a lot in that serving of the packaged food. And we can use it to compare and make informed choices. It's based upon a 2,000 calorie diet, so it is just a guide. It's really about helping us decide, am I getting enough of it? Does this product provide me a good source of this nutrient, or does this product provide me a lot of a nutrient that I don't want to be consuming in extensiveness? So here's an example of comparing our percent daily value. We've got a couple of burgers here, a sirloin burger and a chicken burger. So we can start off by looking at both of them are comparing one burger and they weigh the same, 130 grams. So if we were to look at those and let's say fat was something that we were concerned about, which product has less total fat? So looking at our sirloin burger, we come in at 27 grams or 42% of fat versus the chicken burger, which has 9 grams or 14% fat. To go even a little further in our fat, we can see the saturated and trans fat on our sirloin burger is about 70%. So it has a lot versus the saturated and trans fat on our chicken burger, which is at about 15%. Take a look at sodium. We can see that one of the burgers is providing us about 14% sodium and the other is providing us about 33% of our sodium. And finally, even the iron. So the one burger is giving us about 30% iron and the other burger is only giving us about 2%. So again, depending on what your health goals are, what your healthy eating looks like for you, the nutrition facts table and the percent daily value can help you decide which of these choices would be the better for you. As I mentioned, there are some nutrients that we want to get more of and some that we want to get less of. So in our get more column, we have our fiber, potassium, calcium, and iron. And our get less, we want less total fat and saturated and trans, sodium, and added sugars. So we'll look a little bit more detail in each of these different nutrients. So for fiber, we're looking at increasing our fiber content because it helps to keep our digestive system healthy. We need between 25 and 38 grams a day. So when we are looking at the nutrition facts table, if we could find a product that had 4 or more grams per serving, that would let us know that we are getting a lot. And sources are our whole foods. So you can see the picture, lots of different nutritious choices that are going to provide us that fiber that we need. We also want to be getting more of those micronutrients. So these are those vitamins and minerals. So we have potassium, calcium, and iron, and they are mandatory on the health labels because they are a particular public health concern, meaning that we are not consuming enough of them for that healthy lifestyle and prevention of some of the diseases. Potassium is added because it's important for maintaining a healthy blood pressure. And as I said, most Canadians are not getting enough, whereas vitamin A and C have been removed because we are getting enough of those from our food choices. The thing is, companies can add more micronutrients to the label if they want, but it's mandatory that we have at least the potassium, the calcium, and the iron listed there. So some food labels might list a whole bunch more to encourage you to look at them to say, oh, this contains a lot more vitamins and minerals, so maybe it's a better choice. But again, we need to look at the whole label for the whole picture. So potassium, eating lots of fruits and legumes, leafy greens, our calcium from our milk products, leafy greens, fortified milk beverages. So going again for lots of different whole food choices can help us get our potassium, our calcium, and our iron. Some that we're looking that we want to get less of is our fat. So the daily recommendation with the new food label is 75 grams total fat over the course of the day with no more than 20 grams of saturated and trans fat. So looking at our labels to choose what we call as low fat, 3 grams or less of total fat per serving with 2 grams or less of saturated and trans fat. And to translate that into our percent daily value, if we were to look for something that had about 8% daily value or less per serving, that would be considered in that low fat range. Sodium is another nutrient that we need to pay attention to and try to get less of. Our daily recommendation is 2,300 milligrams. We need 1,500 milligrams. But on average, the Canadians are consuming about 3,400 milligrams per day. So well over what we need. When it comes to low sodium on our products, we're looking for things that have 200 milligrams or less, or once again, that 8% daily value or less per serving. Now, if you're someone who chooses frozen meals, there is a bit more sodium within that. So the standard with that is looking at 600 milligrams or less would be considered a sensible choice for those frozen meals. And finally, we want to focus in on getting less added sugars. There is no general recommendation because many foods have a lot of natural sugars in them. And we want folks to ensure that they're eating a lot of those vegetables and fruits in particular and getting the good natural fibers and sugars from that. The World Health Organization, as well as the Heart and Stroke Foundation, recommend that 10% of our total calories should come from those added sugars. So when we're looking at different products and looking at the labels, can you find cereals, snacks, grains that are going to give you 5 grams of sugar or less? If sugar is in the ingredient list, then it has been added to that product. So that's another piece why the whole label is important. You pick it up and you read the label and it might say that there's 20% sugar in it, but when we actually look at the ingredient list, no sugar has been added. So those are natural sources of sugar. So it provides us some information so we can start to make some informed choices. Now let's move on to the second piece of our nutrition facts table. We have our ingredient list. Our ingredient list is broken down in that the food that, or the ingredient that is listed first is what is in that product in the greatest amount. So it's in descending weight. So if you were to pick up a loaf of bread and the first ingredient is whole wheat, then that ingredient is what is present in the greatest amount. It's mandatory on all packaged foods, and it is a really great tool for folks that have allergies or intolerances to take a look and see if there's something in that product that might not sit well with them or doesn't fit into their healthy eating plan. This is a look at the new ingredient list label. So quite a few changes are highlighted here. One of the big changes is the grouping of sugars. The font size has been increased. They've bolded the word ingredients and contains. We can now see that there's little bullets or commas that are going to separate the ingredients, so it makes it easier to read. As I mentioned, sugars have now been grouped together. And this is actually a pretty exciting change when we're trying to raise awareness about added sugars to our products. Grouping sugars based on ingredients in brackets after the name sugars will help consumers identify all of the sources of sugar added to a food. Previously, so on the old label, as you can see on the left, different types of sugars were listed separately by weight, allowing them to be further down the ingredient list. By grouping them all together, it makes it more clear how much total sugar is in this product. It also makes it more likely that a sugary product will have sugars as the first ingredient, meaning that it has sugar by weight more as the most ingredient. Since companies don't want sugar to be the first ingredient, as it may make customers not want to buy it, this may entice them to add less sugar to the product so it is not the first ingredient, which is a good thing for our health. So we can see this is the same label for a product. In the original label, flour was listed as the first ingredient, and then we had one type of sugar, molasses, a couple other ingredients, and we had our brown sugar, a couple other ingredients, and then sugar. Well, now with the new regulations, when we group all those sugars together, we can see that they actually make up the most in that product. So sugars is now the first ingredient. Then we get our flour, our vegetable oil, and so on. So allowing us to make a much more informed choice and hopefully then influencing some of that product development where less sugar will be added to those products. Because if folks are paying attention to that, they might not want to be purchasing those products that have sugar as that first ingredient. Nutrition claims. This is our third piece of our nutrition label. A nutrient claim is one that describes the amount of nutrient in a food, such as cholesterol-free or reduced in calories. They may also appear on food packages. They're not mandatory, but some companies may put them on there as a quick reference and to entice you to buy that product, especially if folks are looking to reduce a certain nutrient or pay attention to what's in their food. There's different words that are going to be associated with the different nutrient claims. So we can see, you might see the word free. With that, it's an amount so small that health experts consider it nutritionally insignificant. It also might say zero or no or without. We have low, which is referred to a very small amount. They also might use the word little or few. Reduced could also be less, lower, or fewer. And no added could also be without added. So different words, different phrases that are there. A few others, what they mean as well. So higher in means that it's going to give us 25% more of a nutrient compared to a similar product. So higher in fiber, higher in calcium. Good source means that it's going to give us about 15% or more of the recommended daily intake. And an excellent source means it's giving us a large amount of food or a large amount of the nutrient. Higher could also mean, the word more could also be used in replace of the word higher. In replace of excellent source, you might see very high in, rich in, a rich source of. So there's a few different words that can be replaced and utilized within there. But again, it's just a piece of the puzzle because it doesn't tell you specifically how much of that nutrient is in there. It's just letting you know that there is something in it or a little bit less of something. So here's a few products that actually have used some of those nutrient claims. So we can see the oatmeal is saying high fiber. So we know that it's going to have a decent source of fiber in there. The mayonnaise is cholesterol free. So if someone was looking at paying attention to that, And then we can see the beans have used the nutrient claim, no added sugar. So they've haven't got any of the added sugar within that product. And it's a way to encourage you maybe to buy that, because another product might have added sugar in it, and it's a way to do a quick comparison. The other type of claim that we can have on different products, and again, it's optional, is a health claim. So a health claim is a statement about the beneficial effects of a certain food on a person's health. And as I said, it's optional. However, when it is made, it must be truthful. It is not misleading, and according to the Food and Drug Act. It means that manufacturers and importers must have scientific evidence to substantiate a health claim prior to use. So they can't just put it on a product and say that it does these certain things. It actually has to be proven. So a couple of different health claims that you might see on products that we know are good for our health. So it's good to have our digestive system regulated to help reduce our risk of some types of cancers. So Activia put on, helps regulate your digestive system. And Cheerios as well. Oat fiber has been researched, and evidence is there that it does help to lower cholesterol. Cheerios is made with oat fiber, so they've put that health claim on. Oat fiber helps lower cholesterol. So it's leading folks down the path that this might be a good choice for me if I'm someone who is concerned about my cholesterol. So let's compare a few products. We're looking at product A, so both are yogurts, and product B. So we start off by checking our nutrition facts table, and we see that the labels are comparing similar size, so 175 grams. If we were looking at this and wanted to make our choice based upon fat, let's say that is a nutrient that I am concerned about, and I want to try to choose lower fat products in my life because of my hereditary risks and whatnot. So what product would I choose? So looking at my nutrition facts table, I can see that product A has about 3 grams of fiber, and product B fat, and product B has 10 grams. Our percent daily value, it's 15 and 5. So our product A is much lower in our total fat. When we look as well as our saturated and trans fat, product A comes in at 10% versus product B, which comes in at about 35%. So we can see there's quite a bit of difference between those. And if I was looking for choosing a product that was lower fat, then product A would be the choice for me. How about peanut butter? Have you ever taken the time to compare your regular Kraft Smooth versus your only peanuts? So again, start with our serving size. It's both based upon a tablespoon or 15 grams. We can even see the calories, the fiber, and the sugar are the same in both products. But when we look at the fat in our peanuts only versus our regular Kraft peanut butter, it actually has a gram less fat, it has less sodium, and it has a little bit more protein. So depending again on what you're looking for, and as I mentioned, your calories, fiber, and sugar are the same, then looking to get your only peanuts might be the better choice for you. And what about our bread? Is there a difference between our white bread and our whole wheat and our whole grain bread? So here's a comparison of our whole wheat and our white, both by Dempster's. So what would you choose? We want to try to get more fiber, less fat, maybe a little bit more protein. So when we look at our two labels and we can compare, we can see that our whole wheat bread has 4 grams of fiber versus only 1 gram of fiber in our white bread. Our sugars are about the same, but we have a little bit more protein in our whole wheat bread versus in our white bread. But one difference where we see our white bread has a little bit less sodium than our whole wheat bread. So again, depending on what healthy looks like for you, what nutrients you're trying to get more of can help you to lead to that choice. So choosing that whole wheat, you're definitely getting more of that fiber that we talked about earlier, where we want to try to increase that. The final tip I want to give you with regards to looking at labels and when it comes to choosing our cereals is what we call our cereal Olympics. So deciding whether a cereal is a gold, a silver, or a bronze, or didn't even make the podium. It's really interesting when you start to read the nutrition facts table and look at these two criteria in how little cereals out there actually fall into that gold, silver, or even bronze. A lot of cereals fall in the don't even make it to the podium. So the next time you go shopping, use these criteria. You want to try to find a cereal, if you can, that has greater than or equal to 4 grams of fiber per 55 gram serving, less than 5 grams of sugar per 55 gram serving. That would be a gold cereal. Our silver is greater than our 3 grams of sugar and less than or equal to 8 grams, or sorry, of 3 grams or more of fiber and less than or equal to 8 grams of sugar. That's going to give you a silver medal. Our bronze medal means that it's less than 3 grams of fiber and it's less than or equal to 8 grams of sugar. So using that simple criteria by comparing your fiber and your sugars, you can see then, is this a good healthy choice for me because it's giving me more of the fiber, which I know I need more of, and less of the added sugars. So when we look at this nutrition label here, we can see we're getting 6 grams of fiber, but we're also getting 9 grams of sugar. So we can see that it doesn't even, based upon this criteria, it doesn't match any of the gold, silver, or bronze. So it wouldn't even be on the podium because of the greater than 9 grams of sugar. So take a picture of this if you want so that you can refer back to it, because I think this is a great little tool to help folks as you do get out and do that grocery shopping. So that brings to the end of the presentation. Again, I want to highlight resources so folks know that you're not alone. We're still navigating through this whole COVID situation, and know that there are national as well as local resources that you can reach out to and talk with at any time. If you're looking for some specific resources with regards to nutrition facts, understanding some of the nutrients that I talked about today, some excellent reputable resources are the Dietitians of Canada, unlockfood.ca. This has some great recipes and snack ideas in there that will provide you nutrition choices where you'll get more of those key nutrients you want and less of the others. You can go to Health Canada. There's some good information and reading available on understanding food labels, as well as the Heart and Stroke Foundation. And if you're really curious about what different natural food sources that aren't going to have a food label on them, what type of nutrients those provide you, there's a document called the nutrient value of some common foods. So if you just Google that as a PDF, you will be able to download that, and that can give you more specific information as well. So thank you. Hope you enjoyed the presentation. If you have any questions, you can always email our office, healthpromotionpetawawa@cfmws.com, and we will respond back to you. Have a great day. Thank you.